going?
Great.
Awesome. That's what we like.
Super awake. Great.
Awesome.
We'll take your word for it, AJ. Okay. So this is the Development Review Board for Burlington, November 4th, via Zoom. So when we do call up an item, people who want to participate should identify themselves, and Scott will bring them into the meeting, and we can swear them in if it's appropriate on the public hearing items. Also, you also need people's addresses. Is that right, Scott?
Right. So for anyone from the public looking to testify, just give us your mailing address, and that's for purposes of follow-up with the board's decision.
Okay. And so we take up items in the order they are on the agenda. So the first item is the agenda, and there are some changes to the agenda.
Yes.
So I'm just going to go through them. 12-22 North Street, which is part of the Burlington High School relocation, is already permitted for that use, so it doesn't need to be on the agenda. Is that correct, Scott?
Mary, I believe that's the case.
Yes, that is correct. And Burlington School District has since withdrawn their application.
For 12-22.
Correct. They've withdrawn because it's a permitted use.
Okay. And then for 2000 North Avenue, I thought I saw something that says that's resolved. Is that correct?
No.
No. Okay, then well, let's see what that was.
Ed Miles is present.
Okay. Then 40 Kingsland Terrace has been removed because it has to go back to the DAB. Is that
correct?
Yep. That is correct.
And then 75 Cherry Street has been requested to move to December 15th agenda.
Right. The board needs to act on that, but we have received a request to defer.
Okay. And then the other item, which is the joint institutional parking management plan, is to be moved to the November 17th agenda.
Correct.
Okay. So we've got a few things here. I see the communications. So all the communications are in the packet at this point.
Yes.
And minutes, I have to sign a bunch of them. So
yes,
try to do that. So the first item is our consent agenda. And the first item there is 254 South Union Street. Is the applicant here for that one, Scott?
I believe so. Yep. There we go. William Reilly. So William, you're up. You can speak if you unmute.
William, okay. Hello, can you hear us, William?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you and see everybody.
Okay, good. So this is on the consent agenda, which means the staff is recommending it for approval.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with the conditions on the recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. So then I'll ask the board, is there anybody on the board who objects to treating this as consent? No. And Scott, is there anybody in the public who wants to speak on 254 South Union Street?
If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. I don't see any hands being raised right now, though.
Okay.
I don't see any hands, Brad.
Okay. So can I have a motion from somebody on the board?
Sure. I'll move for 21-0326 CU 254 South Union Street that we adopt staff findings, approve the application with the current conditions.
For a second. Caitlin seconds. Thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. William, you're set to go.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the next item is a public hearing for Burlington High School relocation. And it's at two addresses here. One is at St. Mark's Parish and the other is at 51 North Avenue. And I know that Jeff is recused on part of this application. So I see Marty Spalding is here for the school district.
Yep. Marty, you can speak. Is there anyone else?
Hi,
What,
yes, we also have Jason Gingold, the Tech Center Director.
Okay. And is there anybody from the public that wants to speak on this one, Scott?
If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. I don't see any.
Okay. So Jason and Marty, I'd like to swear you in. So do you swear to tell the truth and whole truth under pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So I guess if you have a small presentation you want to make on these, or I'd be curious as to what the process is for these to be acceptable to the school.
Okay, I give you an overview. So as you're probably aware, currently we're not occupying Burlington High School and Burlington Tech Center because we found PCBs in the building. So the high school students are currently working remotely, which is much more difficult to do with Tech Center programs, who are typically working within labs and doing more hands-on work. So we are requesting a change of use for both Cambrian Rise, where we have 3 programs moving into that existing commercial space, and the culinary program moving into St. Mark's Church. We have other programs at St. Mark's as well, which is our Horizon program, but this would be making additional use of that space.
And these are for small groups of students, is that accurate?
That is correct. So Jason could probably speak to the exact numbers, but it's ranging from 14 to 17 students per program. So like at Cambrian Rise, we have 3 programs operating out of 3 different spaces, and each of them are 14 to 17 kids. And the culinary, I believe, is less than that. Jason, how many do we have in the culinary program?
It's because we had to go to the hybrid schedule. So we have about 6 students on Monday, Thursday in the culinary, and then 6 on the Tuesday, Friday.
I suppose it's a great relief to find alternate locations.
It's a huge relief.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we've got some great local business partners for helping us out here.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the applicant?
I guess the only question is, are you guys comfortable with the conditions about the additional bike parking spaces?
Yep.
Okay. They do seem, both locations seem fairly well suited for the use at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on a side note, both locations have been inspected by Barry Semays Fire Marshal and Brad Biggie, the building inspector.
Good. That's usually the next step after us, so you're ahead of the game.
We are.
Yeah, good. Okay, unless there's anything else, and there's nobody in the public on this one, right, Scott?
I see nobody's hands raised.
Okay, then we're going to close the public hearing here.
Right.
Okay, great, thank you.
It's going quickly.
Yes. So the next item is 2000 North Avenue. And what did I see?
We have the appellant Oliver here,
See him here.
as well as Ted Miles.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
All right. Yes, is that Ted?
This is Ted.
Yeah.
And Oliver, you're here?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Is anybody else here to speak on 2000 North Avenue?
If so, raise
not-
your hand.
Not on my part.
No, nobody in the public? So Oliver and Ted, can I swear you both in to tell the truth and whole truth and paying the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Okay. And I think this is the city. Ted, you would go first. And if you can go through what the violation is at this point, and what you see as a resolution. Okay.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ted Miles, Code Compliance Officer, City of Burlington, and the property in question here is 2000 North Avenue. I want to start off with that the Airbnb issue has been resolved and has been discontinued, so that is no longer a violation. So the only remaining violation that exists there is the enclosure of the garage to living space. And there are no zoning permits on file for that. That came to our attention when a contractor was applying for permits to install a, looks like a wood burning stove, a pipe through the roof. And it was identified that at that time that there were no permits for that change of use and for enclosure of the garage. So I did reach out to the owner in emails back in July, and we had conversation back and forth during the week. And I did explain that a zoning permit is required for that change of use on the garage. After a period of time, the owner didn't respond by applying for the permit, so the notice of violation was issued, and now we are at this appeal stage.
And you're also in your conclusion that you also ask about having parking, established parking on the owner's property.
Yes. By enclosing the garage, has removed the parking spaces requirement on the property. There is pavement in front of the former garage, but 17 feet of that belongs to city right away, so it doesn't belong to the owner. So the owner currently has no parking on their property.
When you say 17 feet, so there's a picket fence there in front of the house?
There is a picket fence in front of the house. I did not measure that.
I was just trying to get a sense if that was on city property.
I don't know. I didn't measure that. I didn't. That does have a CO, was signed off by somebody else. I did not measure that to see where that was, but it's pretty close to the property line.
So they have 17 feet from the garage to the city property line?
No, 17 feet from the road towards the garage. So he only has about 7 feet in front of the garage that actually his property.
Oh. Okay. Any questions from the board for Ted Mile on this? Then Oliver, I guess it's your turn to speak on these two issues. One of them is applying for a permit for the conversion, and the second is how you want to address the parking issue.
Sure. Well, before I do that really quick, I just want to clarify that I've kind of talked to Ted a lot about the Airbnb, which was a completely legal thing in my house. So I just want to be really clear, I never use my garage as an Airbnb, as has been mentioned in a few documents and violations that I've received. So just want to be clear on that. I did have a legal Airbnb in my house. I discontinued it a year ago.
Thank you.
Moving on to the two issues. The garage, Ted did notify me that, there was an issue of potential zoning violation. And I had reached out and asked him, obviously we didn't see eye to eye on a number of things, including the dimensions and city right of way. There's actually, I think, a total of 23 feet between my garage and the road. Obviously, some of that's owned by the city right away. But we didn't see eye to eye. It came up a couple inches short. And when he had requested that I, one remedy would be to expanding it with gravel and a barrier. And I asked him, well, I need some ideas and dimensions and sizes, and I just never heard back from him. I called the office, I left a couple of voicemails, and I emailed, and I didn't hear anything. So some time went on, and then I was issued the violation. in terms of it, and I think the second part you asked me was the garage and the, I've owned, in email, I also told Ted, and I'll own it, that I did get the garage enclosed with a contractor who I assumed had gotten the necessary permits to remove the overhead door, and he didn't, and that's on me, and that was a mistake that I made, and that I regret. And the last we left it off was basically, I hope that the board agrees that, I could expand my driveway with gravel and a 3-inch barrier. Because in part of my appeal, I do mention that my house is pretty small. I was kind of hurting for living space, especially when I had roommates and pets in the house and things like that. And so what the rationale behind converting the garage was to add some living space for myself. And yeah, so I hope the board can be open-minded and be flexible and allow me that. But obviously I'm kind of at the whim of the decision here.
I wouldn't put it whim, but that's okay.
Not about whim, not poor choice of words, but
but do you know how far it is from the garage to the city right of way, approximately even?
But according to my measurements, it was, I believe, 8 feet. And that's coming off 15 feet from the edge of North Ave.
And so, I mean, the zoning says you're supposed to have a couple of parking spaces. Were the 2 parking spaces in the garage?
There was only room for 1 space in the garage. The previous owners had modified that garage illegally so much that it, there's a stage, oddly enough, in the back of the garage, and there were 2 very large size closet spaces. So, outside of 1 car or truck, you can't fit any other vehicle in there.
But at one point, it was probably wide enough for 2.
I don't, when I currently bought it, not so much. Maybe when the previous owners owned it, yes, but not when I owned it.
And we don't have a plan of your property, so there's a photograph here that shows the garage, former garage in your house and picket fence, and a structure to the left of the garage. Is that your property or is that another property?
That is mine. That's a small shed that was built there before I moved in. And I had actually expanded the garage, driveway with the proper permits, I think a year ago. So it's pretty recent that I expanded it.
Driveway?
Yeah, the driveway, I expanded the width of it to accommodate. It was pretty narrow before, so in order to accommodate my roommate's car, I expanded it several feet with the proper permits.
And what about the asphalt on Northview on the south end of the property? Do you use that as a parking spot?
I don't. I believe I've heard that they used to use utility vehicles for that spot because there's a telephone pole nearby. I think I'm allowed to use it, but to be frank, it's a little bit out of the way and not something I use.
I'm just trying to think about how to get 2 cars on your property here.
Yeah, you can park them side by side. I could show you an updated photo if I could find it. It's very easy to fit 2 cars side by side in my current driveway with it expanded in front of the garage.
Our dilemma, Oliver, is that we're supposed to approve parking spaces that are on your property and not in the city right of way. And so that's the dilemma for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we ask if you have an opportunity to put it on your own property somewhere.
Yeah, it's limited. I don't have much yard to play around with. I put in a fence because of my dog, and I don't have any backyard really. It's probably about 30 square feet in the way back, but outside of that, there's really no other convenient places for a driveway. I suppose I can expand that part by Northview Ridge. I'm definitely open to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard without, we don't have any information really that clarifies that. I'm trying to look at Google Earth here.
Mhm.
I can show a parcel map, Brad, if you want, on the city's
Okay.
website.
It would help if you have that.
So that's a property right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know the property well. I lived in this neighborhood for many years and saw this property multiple times a day, every day. So
Yeah, that's so you could kind of get a sense of the scale of the driveway, but it's widened to a little bit to the left, and in general, since that picture is taken. So I know that you guys can't approve of the parking space in the city right away, but
so yeah, you can see there with the line how without the garage, the car is in the right of way.
Yeah.
And then I guess actually the paved lot in the north side, basically right above where it says VCG1, that's the asphalt that I was talking about, but only a small amount of it is actually on the applicant or the property. It looked like there was more. I think that's there because that road was always used for the city bus to turn around on before they changed the route.
Can we see the whole property, Scott? Is that?
It's pretty close to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, okay. That was, yeah, I was just curious there. So there is some space to park a car on that adjacent street, but it'd be a different curb cut or something.
There's no curbs.
on Northview Ridge,
But
Northview
even though
Drive.
there's no curb, it's still called a curb cut.
Mhm.
Is there a specific proposal as to where to locate the parking? I mean, it seems like there's agreement that the current driveway is in the right of way. So I guess I'm interested in hearing what the proposal is for additional parking.
In my emails in July, I suggested the space between the shed and the garage.
Looks like that might work, but we don't have a proposal on it. I mean,
Yeah.
but that would work from your point of view.
Yeah, and my hope was to, and what Ted had mentioned, and his recommendation is that I put gravel down in that space, and that would extend it appropriately.
Is that between the tree and the garage, or is that in front of the tree?
That is to the left of the front of the garage, so kind of between the shed. If you were to put gravel between the shed and the garage, and then out a little bit.
Is that big tree still there between the shed and the garage?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm always reluctant to take trees away from that because you can't really tell, but it's a ridge. It's kind of at risk of eroding a lot. So I'm nervous about my house and structures in the future.
Okay.
So I think what would be helpful, I mean, this is an appeal of a zoning violation. We need to find a way to either uphold or resolve it. It sounds like you think there's an alternate location that could work. I'm interested in hearing from the city as to whether that would work, but it would be helpful to see a site plan with the proposed revised driveway on it so that someone can confirm that is doable and that may resolve the issue.
Are any parking waivers possible? Because with ample parking on the street, would that be something that you can do at a residential building like this?
It's possible, but it goes to the board, right? And it's up to you guys. So I'd point out that you guys are considering a violation notice as to what is the condition. There are probably solutions that can be reached with the new application, but that would be handled separately. What's in front of you tonight is just the appeal of the NOV.
And we can't, if I'm correct, Scott, we cannot give a waiver for 100% of parking.
Correct.
Right. So, okay. So, I guess we have enough information on the notice of violation. But I think it would be up to the applicant to try to work with staff to get to make the application for the garage conversion and to find an acceptable location for the driveway. That is sort of beyond our hearing here.
I do want to ask the property owner, you know, in the conclusion, the request here is just an application for the proper permit. And do you have any issue with doing that application? Because that's really what's at question here.
I really just want to resolve this in any way that's fair. And, you know, I just hate the idea of that parking spot going to complete waste, but I guess, and if that's kind of what I'm hearing is probably going to happen, I'm almost open to reinstalling the garage door, to be frank. Because, you know, it just seems like a waste of space at this point.
But would I be mistaken in that it's not just the garage door, it's that the garage is no longer used, like even if you put a garage door in, it's no longer a garage. I mean, if you put a garage door in, can you still park a car inside of it?
Yep, I can still park the car in.
Okay.
Yeah, there's enough space. It's just, you know, there's really not much. I put flooring in and I insulated the place, and that's it. You know, it's got a couch and a weight bench.
Yeah.
So easy stuff to move, but you know, I'd almost rather do that than I know it's more expensive and more of a pain, but rather than go through all this hassle.
So that's the resolution is for you to make an application to address these things. So however you want to do it,
Okay.
that's fine. But there is a ticking clock, so to speak, in terms of making an application for an acceptable resolution.
Okay, and that's just a zoning application? Is there a technical term for that? Just so I'm just taking notes.
That's a zoning application.
Okay.
I would encourage you to talk to staff about working that out and how you want to do it.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board for either the applicant or Ted? This one. No. Ted, did we cover everything that was in your notice?
Yes.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, I'm going to close this public hearing. And Oliver, just so you know, we will probably deliberate on this in a few minutes at the end of the hearing.
Okay.
You can listen in. You can't participate, but you can listen in on deliberation.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. The next item on the agenda is 40 Kingsland Terrace. Do we need to act on that because it's going back to the DAB?
The only action would be to defer to a date certain would be preferable, or indefinitely. Do you know, Mary, if there's a date certain here or no?
I don't have a date certain. I haven't made it through DAB yet, but I would imagine the next available DRB agenda we could schedule them on.
Okay, so do we need a motion to do that, Scott?
You do, because it was on the hearing notice and the agenda, so you need to act to defer it to a date to be determined.
What's the next hearing date?
December 15th, I believe.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion to defer this to December 15th?
I move we defer it to December 15th.
So moved.
Second? Brooks. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? AJ, you're in favor of this one?
AJ?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And the next item is 75 Cherry Street, which is basically an appeal for an administrative determination regarding relinquishing a zoning permit. And they have asked to defer this to December 15th. I did ask.
Hey, Brad, I think Jeff wants to recuse himself.
And I'm recused too.
Okay, Jeff and AJ both recused. Is there anybody in the public here for this one, Scott?
I don't know. If there are, you can raise your hands, but it has been a request to defer it.
Yeah.
I do see one hand raised.
I think we are going to defer. I was just curious to see if anyone was here for them. And we're not dealing with, and it was never going to deal with the substance of the project. So it's a technical application. So we have to get a motion on this one also to defer to December 15th.
Correct.
Can I have a motion from somebody on that?
I'll move to defer 21-0354 AP 75 Cherry Street to December 15th.
And is there a second on that? Springer. Any discussion on this one? All in favor? Opposed? Well, we got through those 6 items on the agenda pretty quickly. Very efficient meeting. I'm going to close the hearing. There is no other item on the agenda.
Well, Brad, so just note that the joint institutional parking management plan will be on 11/17. In case anyone missed that earlier.
Okay. So I will close the hearing, the DRB hearing, and but we have 2 items to deliberate on, which is the Burlington High School and 2000 North Avenue. Everybody okay if we deliberate on those 2 items now?
Yeah.
Assume so. And so we can do, so actually, I guess Burlington High School was in the end recommended for consent, but it didn't put on the consent item agenda. So anybody?
Brad, technically I'm recused from 351, so